our part in helping deny ignorance. It is the ATS News. Hello, everybody. I'm Johnny Anonymous. Let's see what's been going on since we last got together at our favorite #1 conspiracy website in the world, AboveTopSecret.com. A number of threads were recently posted in these past few weeks regarding UF disclosure, including when ET phones the Pope, MSNBC, the Vatican seeks signs of alien life, and most recently, Vatican, England, and France for UFO disclosure. Now, what do all of these have in common? Well, a very important and major conference on astrobiology was held recently by the Vatican's Academy of Sciences. Astrobiology is the science that seeks to find life elsewhere in the cosmos and to understand how it began on Earth. Dozens of scientists gathered at the Vatican-sponsored meeting to fit together emerging pieces of a puzzle still waiting to be solved, which is whether there is life or not on other planets. Father Jose Funes, a Jesuit astronomer, director of the centuries-old Vatican Observatory, and a driving force behind the conference, suggested in an interview last year the possibility of brother extraterrestrials posing no problem for Catholic theology. As a multiplicity of creatures exist on Earth, he says, so there could be other beings, also intelligent, created by God. This does not conflict with our faith because we cannot put limits on the creative freedom of God. Astronomers say there are something close to 10 billion trillion stars in the known universe, and more planets are being discovered orbiting them all the time. Now, the number of stars is more than the numbers of grains of sand we have here on Earth. The Vatican reluctantly understands that they are an institution that got Copernicus, Galileo, and many other men of science wrong in the past, and they want to be sure that they don't do that ever again. What many consider to be a historic scenario with the United States Federal Reserve has gained momentum with Bill H.R. 1207, sponsored by Representative Ron Paul, which currently has 313 co-sponsors in the House from both sides of the aisle, which is now veto-proof. As the bill to audit the Federal Reserve moves forward, H.R. 1207 faced fierce last-minute opposition from Federal Reserve executives and some Democrats, including Representative Barney Frank, who is the chairman of the House Finance Committee. Opponents of H.R. 1207 argue that it could be perceived as influencing monetary policy, which could, in fact, have inflationary pressure. This will definitely be one bill we here at AboveTopSecret.com, along with many others recently introduced, will be wanting to watch very closely. Researcher Michael Tellinger and pilot Johann Heine claim to have discovered something very amazing in an area of South Africa about 150 miles inland west of the port of Maputo, according to an article from the View Zone. It is the remains of a huge metropolis that measures, in conservative estimates, about 1,500 square miles. It's part of an even larger community that is about 10,000 square miles and appears to have been constructed, according to Tellinger, from 160,000 to 200,000 BCE. According to Tellinger, the photographs, artifacts, and evidence that they have accumulated points unquestionably to a lost and never-before-seen civilization that predates all others. These discoveries are so staggering that they will not be easily digested by the mainstream, as they have already experienced. It will require a complete paradigm shift in how we view our human history, Tellinger said. Many ATS members, although thrilled with the prospect of such a find, seem hesitant in their jubilation due to the lack of corresponding news sources to confirm the dating of such an archaeological find. As we all know, a bit of history was recently made with the passing of the controversial health care bill. Now, this bill had a final vote of 220 to 215, and it includes fundamental changes to the American healthcare system, creating a public health insurance option to compete with private insurers, and for the first time requiring even employers to offer their employees health insurance. Above Top Secret member Pat Mack brought an interesting tidbit that many may not have known, which is that buried deep within this over 1,000-page of massive U.S. healthcare bill is a non-discussed section, and that section is Subtitle C11, Section 2521- the National Medical Device Registry. In it, it states its purpose, which is the Secretary shall establish a National Medical Device Registry to facilitate analysis of post-market safety and outcomes data on each device that A, is or has been used in or on a patient, and B, is a device of a Class 3 or a Class 2 device that is implantable. Now, in real-world speak, according to this report, this new law, when fully implemented, provides the framework for the United States being the first nation in the world to require each and every one of its citizens to have implanted in them a radio frequency identification microchip, which is for the purpose of controlling who is or isn't allowed to get medical care in this country. ATS member The Truth 777 created a thread called Coverage Under Obamacare Will Require an Implantable Microchip, and he goes on to list what those descriptions of the Class 2 device is. And it states, approved by the FDA, a Class 2 implantable device is a implantable radio frequency transponder system for patient information. The purpose of a Class 2 device is to collect data in medical patients such as claims data, patient survey data, analytic files that allow for the pulling and analysis of data from other data environments, electronic health records, and any other data deemed appropriate by the Secretary. Now, many members here at AboveTopSecret.com don't see anything sinister in this bill, like Jam321, who says, first, I don't read that the chips will be implanted under this bill. Second, if chips were mandated, most people would line up to receive them if it was tied to them getting their government benefits. And member Elfie said, I read it differently. In Section 2521, it's discussing devices that are currently implanted, such as pacemakers, portable dialysis devices, pain medication implants, and other similar items. Other members went on to say that this was the mark of the beast and to please refuse the chip. Others, like Travis T., pointed the following out. I don't know what would be worse, actually having this oh-so-bad mark of the beast chips in our skin, or living in fear from topics that people make up and use for their fear-mongering towards the president they didn't want to see in office. Now, this historical bill, of course, is now being debated on the Senate floor. But the question begs to be asked, would you accept the chip if it was mandatory to receive health care? In a semi-related story on RFID chips, is it possible that the injection of small tracking chips may have been predicted years earlier? Well, a post put up by ATS member Kim Breather alludes that this indeed may be the case, as a UK tabloid article supposedly published back in August 1st, 1989, of The Sun has surfaced and seems to point to such claims. The alleged article is entitled, Big Brother's Coming, Revealed Secret Plans to Tag Every Man, Woman, and Child. Now, of course, many members and readers of ATS tried to find evidence of this article even existing. Alien-esque of ATS pointed out that one of the interesting aspects of this is that in the research for more information on this article, it was found that the archives of The Sun only date back to 1996. Member Drunken Shrew said that in his copy of the book, Behold, a Pale Horse, by author William Cooper, that there is a photocopy of this exact same Sun article on page 444. As fantastic as injectable chips might sound, there has been some fantastic innovations in chip technology. ATS member Utopian pointed us to an article at abc.net where the corporation Hitachi has made claims of inventing a chip the size of a speck of dust. This means it is so small that it can be embedded in between a piece of paper. Imagine that, in between a piece of paper. Member JNAR brought to our attention this that was in a press release located on the VeriChip's website that is entitled VeriChip Corporation Granted Exclusive License to Patients Used in Virus Triage Detection System for H1N1 Virus. VeriChip has also partnered up with a company called Receptors and has published a white paper entitled An Integrated Sensor System for the Detection of Biothreats from Pandemics to Emerging Diseases to Bioterrorism, which outlines the system's development and is available at www.verichipcorporation.com. Now, with all this interest in chips and vaccinations, one has to ask, how can the government get away with doing such an act? Could it be that the possible state of emergency that President Obama enacted on swine flu might just be a gateway to getting us all chipped? This next report originally started in one direction, and then it suddenly exploded into areas that truly has been mind-boggling. It began with an initial report of an article that was published at phys.org.com with a study showing that smaller but less stable West Antarctic ice sheets is shedding a significant mass of ice. Claims are made that scientists worry that rising global temperatures could trigger a rapid disintegration of West Antarctica. Of course, it holds up enough frozen water that it could possibly push the global ocean water mark by about 5 meters or 16 feet. Now, of course, there's also been considerable debate on global warming, and this thread quickly fueled a number of responses, including what became the bizarre introduction of breaking news right around page 4 that helped steer this thread in a very interesting direction. You know, we mentioned several weeks ago about a carbon tax that may actually be a foothold for a global governing body to have exclusive power over us. Well, now it seems that hackers have leaked evidence from the Climate Research Unit at East Anglia University in the form of thousands of emails with purported fudging of data to favor man-made climate change. Also in a YouTube video, historical climatologist Dr. Tim Ball claims that this information leak confirms his suspicions of what his 30 years in climate science research saw, which is the hijacking of data, particularly by computer modelers and a small group of people associated with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He continues by saying that although he suspected that this was going on, he could not prove it. But now with the exposure of these files, it is not just a smoking gun, it's a battery of machine guns that has been exposed. Many are already calling this scenario ClimateGate. Now, because of the leaked emails and information, this story has now taken another turn, which is the demand for the firing of the scientists and the data modelers from the university involved in this event. Most recently, we've also learned from an article posted by ATS member Rapacity in a post entitled Climate Change Data Dumped, that it appears that as the university was moving into a new building, they decided that it would be wise to throw away and dump data from numerous years back. Now, many ATS members find that this is not only suspicious, but criminal. But what everyone is still concerned about is the lack of major news agencies stepping up and covering this information about the global climate cover-up. By the way, just as an interesting side note, the photo used on the island in the original phys.org.com article about the Antarctica is called, ironically, Deception Island. And finally, before we go, we all know that AboveTopSecret.com is a gathering place for members and guests alike from all walks of life, all gravitating to one central spot to discuss a variety of conspiracy issues and topics. So it should really come as no big surprise that eventually someone would write a song in rhyme about these conspiracies. And that is exactly what member Beast 1333 has done with a little ditty called Above Top Secret. By the way, he has agreed to make this song available for download, so make sure that you do it. I think it's only fitting that we close our show with a little bit from the song. So thanks for joining us here at the ATS News. Peace out.
On the back of the dollar, we living in squalor, but really doesn't matter anyway. There's a star that is bigger than all of the Milky Way. They know it's going over, and when it does, yo, it will all be over. Look into crypto, a demon was even found in Dover. The city's underground with a whole nother race that will never get to meet, never get to see their face. That's above top secret, cause it's above top secret. Keep it on the low. There's knowledge that is kept far away from all our minds, cause they keep the people dumb and they keep the people blind. That's above top secret, cause it's above top secret. Keep it on